Anna.
Hi, Melonie. Super excited to meet you.
You too. How are you?
All good. Yourself?
Good. I am very good. Thank you.
I will leave the stage for you. Enjoy.
Okay.
Have fun.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. First off, Anna, I want to thank you and the Women Tech Network for hosting this event and bringing us all together. I am very grateful to be speaking to all of you. Today, I'll be sharing my story on how I implemented 3 things that's really helped me push through my own limiting beliefs in order to start advocating not just for myself, but for women in tech. So my name is Melonie deGuzman, and I have been on the digital media side of broadcast for the past 15 years. I'm also one of the co-founders of a women in technology group here in Toronto, Canada. This is going to be an interactive session. So throughout my talk, I'll be pausing to ask some questions. So please put your thoughts in the comment section. And then at the end, there's going to be some takeaways that will help you implement what you've learned today. This part is personal to you, so I want you to take your time and go back to it later to really build it up. And this is where you'll need your pen and paper. And then finally, we'll conclude with some Q&A. But before we start, I need to take a moment to acknowledge that the land I'm speaking on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. All right, first question to everyone. Now that you know I'm from Canada, where is everyone else from? This is a global conference, so let me know. And I'm not sure if Anna will be able to let me know because I can't see the comments. Okay, so I'm just going to move forward. So there is a reason why we are all here. The stats in Canada show that only 23% of technology jobs are held by women. That translates to only 1, maybe 2 women at the table. The good news is that every year, more and more women are graduating from STEM programs and entering the workforce. But the thing is that other 77%, they have been running the show for so long. And they're going to expect you to talk like them, walk like them, and act like them. And who can blame them? The system works for them, and they just want to keep the status quo. But you're not like the other 77%, are you? Okay, let me tell you a story. When I look back at when I started my career in tech, I can see how I slowly changed my behaviors and my mannerisms to fit how I thought I should act. I felt like I had to roll with the boys because when I looked around my department, especially those in leadership positions, I didn't see anyone like me. And it's hard to be what you can't see. You see, I've always loved fashion, but when I was at work, I made sure to not overdo it on the flower patterns and the polka dots. I found myself wearing less makeup and jewelry. And then even my naturally excited and loud, friendly voice became quieter. And when I did speak, it came out a little bit more monotone. And let's be honest, I didn't want to stand out as being too girly. And I remember making the conscious decision not to be part of any social committees or to bring fresh baked cookies to that bake sale. Because if I didn't see the senior manager, the director, or the VP of IT bake cookies, neither was I. And I remember telling my sister that I was so afraid of falling into the office mother role because that was not the promotion I was going for. So instead, I channeled all of my energy into climbing that corporate ladder, and I did what I thought I needed to do. You see, I made sure that I kept up with the latest trends in digital media. I chased achievements in forms of accreditations and diplomas and credentials. And I would be active in both the tech and media community by going to events and volunteering my time on committees. And I thought it was going great. Because at work, I would be assigned to work on bigger projects with bigger clients. I would be responsible for the training and onboarding of new hires, but I would still be overlooked when I applied for that promotion. And I couldn't figure out why. I felt like I was doing all the right things, but my career wasn't accelerating as fast as I planned it to be. So am I the only one? Like, who else has ever felt like this in the workplace? Do you ever find yourself changing your mannerisms to fit in? Like you hear those sayings that you can't code in a dress or you're too pretty to be in STEM. So it came to a point where I had to admit that what I was doing wasn't working for me, even though that I felt like I was doing everything correctly. I needed to change my approach, but honestly, I didn't know how. So I read books, I listened to podcasts, I went to leadership and career events and seeked out mentors and coaches, and the same 3 messages kept on standing out to me. And this is what I'll be sharing with you today. The first one is to be your authentic self. And that is easier said than done to a people pleaser and someone who doesn't really like to rock the boat. And there was a lot of struggle identifying between who I should be versus who I really am. And that's when I figured out I was living my life on autopilot. You see, I went to the good school, I got a good job with the benefits and the vacation time, and I would just work hard to make my way up to that ladder and get to the C-suite, right? That's how it's supposed to work. But I also had to take a step back and figure out, is the C-suite really my goal? I didn't know anymore. And I'm figuring this out by visualizing who I want to be and give myself permission to follow that dream. And every day I'm collecting data on myself. And every day I'm becoming more and more comfortable with who I really am. So if I wanted to show up to work wearing makeup and bright colors and jewelry, that's what I was going to do. The second message is celebrate your wins. Well, first I had to battle against imposter syndrome because it's really hard to celebrate if you think that you're a fraud, minimizing the work that you put in. But those thoughts are not facts. And imposter syndrome is just in your head. An example of this is when I used to have a side gig as a photographer. For 7 years, I was the official runway photographer for Fashion Television, Canada's fashion network. And for 7 years, they used my photos and promos, stock images, websites, commercials, but I would never say I was a professional photographer because I wasn't good at studio photography or landscape photography. I didn't feel worthy to have that title. But how ridiculous does that sound? That after 7 years, I still couldn't give myself credit for the work that I've done. And I'm sharing this with you today so that you can think of your own examples. What wins have you had that objectively someone else would say, wow, you're awesome. But just like me, you felt like an imposter. And even when I found the courage to celebrate my wins, it was uncomfortable because it felt like I was bragging. And then on the flip side, I would get frustrated when I was being overlooked. But the truth is that I wasn't giving anyone a reason to look in my direction. I wasn't giving people a reason to go to my LinkedIn profile to learn more about me. People don't know how awesome you are unless you tell them. And that leads into the third, most uncomfortable but crucial thing that they recommend is advocate for yourself. So I started to own my successes. And instead of doing things quietly behind the scenes, waiting to be recognized for it, I started telling people. I started telling everyone. I started talking about the things I was passionate about. I started sharing what I knew. I started telling people about all of my accomplishments and my experiences. And I really just forced myself to be my own PR rep. You see, I used to be so focused on being promoted to that leadership role at my company, climbing that corporate ladder, being invited to that table. But if I was going to depend on my place of employment to give me that title and authority, I would be waiting a very long time. So I decided to go out and seek success outside of the corporate world. And by letting people know who I was and what I had to offer, that gave me the power to align my values and my vision with the type of leader I wanted to be in the tech community. And has opened up a dialogue where I can learn, mentor, and support people. So when I practice these 3 things together, I finally feel like I'm in control of my own life. By being my authentic self, I'm really finding out who I am, what my values are, instead of just living my life on autopilot. By celebrating my wins, I'm building more and more confidence every single day. And by advocating for myself, paired with the other 2, it has connected me with so many like-minded people and communities where I feel welcomed and loved. And I really feel like I'm part of the women in tech industry here in Toronto. And all of that was worth feeling uncomfortable. And I feel that if more women start doing these things, our voice will rise louder and we will become more visible in the industry. Because let's be honest, the tech industry is ran by men. The leadership model was created by men, and how they communicate, network, and sharing the industry, and let's be honest, all industries, was created by men to benefit men, and the system is working for them. But is it really inclusive? Not just for women, but for people of color in the LGBTQ community. And how could it be? We weren't at the table when they're making the rules. We didn't get a say. So instead of trying to find a seat at their table, let's make our own and create a place where everyone has a voice, a choice, and then give them the support they need in order to succeed. Okay, I'm going to share some slides now for us to recap. There you go. All right, so let's recap. The 3 things that you can start in order to push through those limiting beliefs that are holding you back. First is being your authentic self. Second is celebrate your wins. And third is advocate yourself. We're going to dive into each of these. So either take a screen grab or a photo with your phone, write it down. This part is personal to you. So really take the time to think about the answers. All right. The first one, oops, there we go. The first one is authenticity. Start with the basics. Who are you? Where and how were you raised? And what was your upbringing like? Then move on to identifying what your values are, your passions, your interests. And this is where the work comes in if you live your life on autopilot like I have. Try new things, learn new things, find out what sparks joy in your life. And then finally, who do you want to be? And then give yourself permission to be that person and align your habits and goals with that vision. Now, celebrate your wins. The first step is to give yourself credit for all the cool things that you've done in the past. Remember that story about me being a photographer? What's your story? And then from this day forward, I want you to keep a hype list. Write it down, review it. Is it in line with that vision of who you want to be? And then finally, know your worth. You have proof now. Don't minimize the work that you put in. And third, advocate for yourself. Be your own PR rep. Share your knowledge, your achievements, what your values are. Be a thought leader in this industry to help raise the volume of women in tech. And then go out and find your people and support them in the same way that you would like to be supported. And then finally, build your table. All right, that is, I'm going to stop sharing. If we can open up to some Q&A.
Absolutely. Hi, that was great. Thank you very much, Melonie.
No problem.
Let's go. And do you have some questions for Melonie? Advocating for yourself, that part is the hardest.
Yes.
Monica is telling. Maybe some tips on how to be an advocate for yourself. Many people, when you even ask them to, let's say, describe themselves, they would describe in a very shy manner, they just happened to them, it's not like they worked hard for that. So how to be, maybe some practical tips on how to build this self-advocacy for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, it takes practice. You just have to practice it over and over again. It's going to feel so weird and uncomfortable. And that thing I said about it sounds like you're bragging, right? So it really isn't. You're just letting people know who you are. So practice, know that it's normal for it to feel uncomfortable. It's normal to have imposter syndrome, but just keep on pushing forward. Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, I love that you are telling that it's normal. It's not I think every person has it once in a while. Like they're like, you can't be all the time, like, super confident. So why it is so hard to recognize your own work? I feel like I'm showing off. Any tips to feel more confident? A question from Anna Munoz.
So I feel that like the thing about showing off, and that is something, I feel that women, like when we were girls, we grew up and we were told to be nice and polite and only speak when spoken to, at least in my upbringing. And we just don't have that. When I was talking about practice, we just don't have that built into us. So really, it's a skill. And by practicing more and more, and what I found was that when I started doing it, my favorite platform to do this is on LinkedIn. When I started doing it, that's when I started like finding people, and people who are like, yeah, that's really cool. Like, this is my story. Like, let's connect. And I found that like the imposter syndrome that I had was just in my head. So like I did bring value into the conversation.
Yeah, that's super useful. Maybe one last question: how to deal with imposter syndrome?
How to deal with
very first broad question.
So you are in charge of your own thoughts, feelings, and actions. And imposter syndrome is just a thought that you have in your own head. And when you think that you're an imposter, you're feeling like a fraud, and your actions are probably like not doing anything because you feel like you're an imposter, right? So work on changing that around. Instead of feeling like, hey, I'm an imposter, like, hey, I have something to value. Someone should hear this message I want to bring. And then think about, if those are your thoughts, then your feelings are more confident, more proud. And then your actions would be to actually move forward with it. So you're in charge of your own thoughts, feelings, and actions. Imposter syndrome is just in your head.
Just in your head. You can deal with it, right? Maybe one last question. We have like a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Did you find it hard to be vulnerable in a male-dominated career?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still working on that. It is something that, I believe that all of us, there's a reason why we're all here, is working through. So yes, I absolutely, everything that I talked about, I don't have it down pat 100%. These are things that I'm working through every single day.
Thanks for being open and sincere with us. We appreciate that. Thanks,
No
Melonie.
problem. Thank you. I do have something to wrap up, so can I have another few seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I just want to say before we leave, so I'm still working on being comfortable with advocating for myself, battling against imposter syndrome. Even when I was given the opportunity to speak at this event, I didn't want to tell anyone. Because who am I to speak at a Women in Tech event? I don't code. I'm not an engineer. Again, not giving myself the credit for the past 15 years working in the industry. But if I have something of value, it's my responsibility to get over myself and be that role model that I seeked out when I was younger. Because it's hard to be what you can't see. So I needed to show up. And if you believe that you have something of value to bring to the table, then you aren't doing anyone any favors by making it the world's best kept secret. So,
and I'm glad that you took the opportunity and showed up and inspired so many women who tuned in and joined us. Thank you very much, Melonie.
Thank you.
Great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.